Shabbat Shalom. There are two famous characters from ancient literature that still impact on us. The first is Sisyphus from Greek mythology. You remember that he was the founder and the king of Corinth who lived a cunning and devious life. Ultimately, the gods punished him with a unique form of torture. For all eternity, he would be condemned to rolling a huge boulder up a steep hill, only to see it roll back down the mountain when it neared the top, forcing Sisyphus to start all over again. This form of punishment, conceived by the gods, was so oppressive that it still haunts us today. We still refer to this fate as Sisyphean. We often describe the work that we do as Sisyphean tasks. Why do we fear this form of punishment? What so terrifies us? As many people have commented throughout the ages, it's not so much the work itself that oppresses us. Rather, it is the aim of the work. If the work has a goal, if it has a purpose and a meaning, we are okay with the work. In fact, many people welcome hard work. The harder the better. The more mental and physical exertion, the more challenging the better. This guy who free fell from the edge of space last week did it primarily because of the challenge, because it was hard. No one had ever done it before. That's why he did it. There may be some scientific value in what he did, but he's a skydiver. He did it for the thrill, for the adventure, for the challenge. Mountain climbers, marathon runners, attorneys, physicians, entrepreneurs, politicians who may be unusually hard workers, even workaholics, they all say the same thing. The goal keeps me going, whatever that goal may be. They're not afraid of the Sisyphean work. They're only afraid of the Sisyphean futility. Why'd you climb Mount Everest, knowing how difficult and risky is the task? Because it's there, they answer. It's a challenge. If anything, the exertion is part of the fun. But once the exertion becomes futile, we consider it Sisyphean, the worst of all possible human traits. It could be the same work. The difference is not even in the outcome. We might even fail in the exertion. We might never roll the boulder to the top of the hill. It might fall down. We might never get to the top of Mount Everest, or never finish the marathon, or never get that job that we wanted and worked so hard for. But pushing up to the top of the hill would still be meaningful for us. The difference is in the aim. It's in the purpose. Is there a goal that animates me? I think that if there was a goal for Sisyphus, his exertion of rolling up the huge boulder onto the top of the hill might even have been rewarding for him. If every time he reached the top, some aim, some challenge, some reward was achieved, it wouldn't have been punishment at all. Remember the movie, The Bridge on the River Kwai? For you youngsters here, it was from that ancient period of human history, from the mid-20th century when primitive man lived. It's considered one of the greatest movies ever made and won several Academy Awards. This movie is about British POWs in the Second World War who offer to build a bridge for the Japanese enemy so that they can do something meaningful with their lives and relieve the boredom and futility of being prisoners. And the men were so taken by the task of building the bridge that they fought against their own side, Allied soldiers, when they tried to blow it up. The film produced a poignant message that even Primo Levi, who survived Auschwitz, also pointed out. Our need to accomplish a task is so important to us. Even if it is for the benefit of our enemy, we will do it as well as we can. For human beings, true punishment is not in the strenuous exertion, but rather strenuous exertion that achieves nothing. That thought is so distressing that French philosopher Albert Camus wrote an entire book called The Myth of Sisyphus. I see some college kids here. Did you study the myth of Sisyphus in college? Where he envisioned Sisyphus happy. At the very moment of the boulder rolling down the hill, Sisyphus is aware of his fate, and that awareness, according to Camus, made him happy. It is in the stoic, uncomplaining Sisyphus, who simply starts all over again, that we human beings should find comfort, argues Camus. It's a stretch. Camus believed that the world itself, existence itself, is absurd. So he wrote a book that basically seeks to answer the question, if it is all meaningless and absurd, why not commit suicide? It's so classically French. A whole book, an entire philosophical treatise whose purpose is to answer the question, why not kill yourself? Because if you really thought about it, the godlessness of French philosophy leads to the ultimate conclusion that life is meaningless. And if life is meaningless, why continue? Why not end it now? So Camus struggled to answer that question, how to find meaning in a meaningless and godless world that has no beginning, no end, no purpose, and no point. In Judaism, we don't really buy the assumptions of Camus. There is meaning to existence. It may not always be clear to us. Unlike the Stoic Sisyphus, we may complain along the way, but we believe that there is a higher goal. In Judaism, therefore, we follow the Abraham model. He is the second legendary character of antiquity who still impacts upon us today. Abraham offers the alternative portrayal of life. We are introduced to him in this week's Torah portion, Lech Lecha. Abraham does not contend that exertion should be avoided. Abraham, too, recognizes uncertainty, unpredictability, doubt, punishment, change that produces disorientation and loss. Abraham does not seek to deny death or to ignore it. But he offers the Jewish model of contending with life. He embraces a job, a task, late in life, that might have been as physically and mentally strenuous as Sisyphus' task of rolling the boulder up the hill. Abraham has to leave everything behind, everything he ever knew, and as a 75-year-old man, start all over again. Start rolling the boulder of life up the hill again, and this time to a place that he doesn't even know. But unlike Sisyphus, whom the gods punished with the futility of being deprived of any meaning in his work, Abraham is granted by God threefold meaning in his task. First, God says to Abraham, it'll be good for you. If you embark on this difficult task, you personally will prosper. Second, God says to Abraham, it will be good for your family. If you embark upon this difficult task, your children and your children's children, your people, will prosper. And third, God says to Abraham, it'll be good for the world. If you embark on this difficult task, all of the nations of the world will be blessed through you. Prosperity, posterity, and universality. These are the threefold blessings of Abraham's exertion. And so it should be with us. Find meaning in that. We work hard to benefit ourselves. We work hard to benefit our descendants. And we work hard to benefit others, the world at large, so that others will be blessed through our exertion. It's good for me. It's good for my family. It's good for the world. And if we find one of these three meanings in life and in our work, or better yet, all three, we shall live productive, fruitful, and happy lives, not because we have avoided suffering and loss, but because we have found meaning in existence and purpose in our lives. Amen.